Commission has begun sensitization programs meant to help the pilgrims understand the requirements of the Hajj. Hadi Baji is in Mecca and she brings us the latest. The National Hajj Commission of the Gambia, under the leadership of Al-Haji Usman Jar, is spearheading series of sensitization for Gambian pilgrims currently in Mecca ahead of the Hajj, which begins on Wednesday. The pilgrims, on a daily basis, after every obligatory prayer, are taken step by step on all the rituals of the Hajj, beginning with the circling of the Kaaba, the walk between Safa and Marwa, the journey to Mina, Arafat, and Muzdalifah. Islamic scholars, including Al-Haji Muhammad Lamin Ture of the Supreme Islamic Council, Imam Al-Haji Baba Lee, Sheikh Ibrahim Cham, together with the Hajj guides contracted by the National Carrier GIA, explained in detail all the rituals and what is expected of each pilgrim during the 5-day event, which falls between the 8th and 12th day of the last month of the Islamic lunar calendar. On Wednesday, which marks the beginning of the Hajj, the Gambian pilgrims will join over 2 million fellow Muslims in Mina, some 7 kilometers east of Masjid al-Haram, where they will spend the day and night in air-conditioned tents, praying and reading the Holy Quran. The Hajj ritual is traced back to the time of Prophet Ibrahim. It is a religious obligation to embark on Hajj at least once in a lifetime of every Muslim who can afford it. Reporting for GRTS News, this is Hadi Baji in May. The Commission of Inquiry Tuesday had testimonies from the Managing Director of Guaranty Trust Bank and Sky Bank, as well as the former Managing Director of Gambia National Petroleum Company, in connection to petroleum accounts opened in commercial banks. Abdullah Baji reports.
Deliberations are ongoing at the Commission of Inquiry looking into the financial dealings of former President Jammeh. First to appear before the Commission is the Managing Director of Guaranty Trust Bank, who was asked to disclose debit transactions that were in accounts opened by Jammeh and his associates in GT Bank.
We would like you to tell us how much money went into the account.
The total amount that went into the account was 3 million 655.19 US dollars. The next debit is cash withdrawal of 348,000. It was withdrawn by Honorable Sirawani.
Is the purpose stated?
No, it wasn't stated. This one is $500,000 cash withdrawal, 19th of May.
Okay, 2015. Withdrawn by whom?
By the same Honorable Wali.
A familiar face to the Commission, the Accountant General, who was previously tasked by the Commission to submit copies of the 2010 to 2016 approved budgets, which he did. The lead counsel asked the Accountant General to disclose the budget allocation for the Ministry of Petroleum in 2015 and 2016 respectively.
I've got them from 2010 to 2016. 2017 there was a revised budget that was recently submitted to the National Assembly.
Can we have 2015 budget estimates for 2015 and 2016?
For 2015, the budget provision was $10,304,410 for Ministry of Petroleum.
Ministry of Petroleum.
For 2016, it was $9,151,716.
The Managing Director of Sky Bank disclosed to the Commission about the funds that were opened by Jammeh and his associates.
What was the balance first in the account as at that date? Immediately you effected the change of signatories.
The balance was 239,925. That's $2,399,925. $2.3 million.
He further disclosed that ex-President Jammeh and former SW were signatories to the main accounts operated by the Office of the President.
In August 2013, there was a change of signatories. Putting aside the existing signatories and introducing the then former President, Sheikh Professor Hajj Dr. Yaya Jammeh, as signatory, and Mumudu Sabali as signatory.
The Sky MD further asked for more time so he and his team can get the entire paperwork sorted and presented to the Commission. former Managing Director of GNPC, was next to testify. Mr. Baji, who has been MD for GNPC for a period of 8 years, disclosed that funds were transferred from GNPC to presidential initiatives such as PEJEP by presidential directives.
There was one for October 2006, which was $45,300 US dollars to PEJEP. The other one was for also to PEJEP, payment of cash USD 1 million.
$1 million US dollars.
Yes.
Mr. Baji further went to explain how he and his team lost control of the accounts when a letter was received from the Office of the President directing them to change the signatories, which later had Jammeh and Sabali as signatories to the accounts.
After that transaction that we did for the 250 and the 243,000, we got a directive to transfer to advise the bank that for change of signature, that we should no longer be signatories to these accounts.
Okay, change of signatory to all of your accounts?
Yeah, all of our dollar accounts where we had these rentals and data sales and bonuses, yes.
Basically where you had the 7 million.
Yes.
The signatories to all those accounts were changed.
Yes.
Who became signatories to the accounts?
According to the letter we got, and in fact the letter we wrote also is for said Professor Alaji Dr. A.J. Jammeh and Momodu Sabali.
Usman Jabate of the Gambia Ports Authority also appeared briefly. He will face the commission on Wednesday. Proceedings at the Commission of Inquiry is expected to continue tomorrow. Reporting for GRTS News, I am Abdullah.
The overseer of the Vice Presidency, Ajafat. Two senators and 4 members of Parliament of the Canada-Africa Parliamentary Association were at the Vice Presidency to show appreciation for the recent change of government in the Gambia.
It's a great privilege to be here in a time of optimism. That right now, even in Canada, we have heard the good news that there's a new Gambia emerging, and we want to be part of that. The reality is that we're hoping that Gambia will take up its leadership role that it's held in the past to encourage other African countries to be a progressive voice, a thoughtful voice, and an encouraging voice.
The Canada-Africa Parliamentary Association was formed to enhance cooperation with parliaments in Africa.
By working with each other, we learn from each other and we strengthen parliaments. And we believe it's important in any democracy to function appropriately. Parliament must be strong and must be able to speak out for the people. The Parliament must see its role as a voice of the people, and we have met with civil society, some press people, we met ministers to understand where this country is going.
The Gambia and Canada has a long history of mutual beneficial relations. The Canadian politicians are also looking forward to the Gambia's return to the Commonwealth.
What we have said and we've encouraged is that we are prepared to work with Parliament. It's a new Parliament. It's a multi-party Parliament. We were told that virtually everyone is new in the Parliament, so we have environments like the Commonwealth and other parliamentary where we can work on workshops to really define our roles. It's a changing world, so it isn't going to be just how Gambia is going to change. The world is changing. So how do we all position ourselves to really serve our people better, our citizens?
This visit is yet another indication of the international community's strong desire to support the Gambia's newly found democracy. Reporting for GRTS News, I am Winifred Nico. 7 waste collection vehicles worth over $8 million were on Tuesday handed over to Brikama Area Council's waste collection unit. Mariama Baldesinko witnessed the presentation and she now reports. One of the main environmental issues facing the Gambia is waste management, especially in the urban areas. environmental factors and dumping of waste into waterways have led to flood in some urban areas. Today's presentation by the Brikama Area Council at the Governor's Office include 2 6-wheel trucks, 2 compactor trucks, 2 10-wheel trucks, and 1 septic tank. The move is meant to help address issues of waste collection and management in the West Coast region. The Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Regional Government and Lands, Buba Sanyang, lauded the initiative. He urged the Brikama Area Council officials to ensure effective and efficient service delivery to the public.
The Council is also urged to try and engage the private sector so that the private sector on their part will be able to give back that profit that is generated from the very community as a service through the Council to the public.
The Governor, West Coast Region, Ibrahim Mbalo, said the intervention by Brikama Area Council came at a time when waste collection and disposal remains a huge challenge in the area. He described the purchase of the vehicles as apt, noting that the move will ease constraint of refuse collection by the Council.
I wish to assure the people of this region, especially taxpayers, that the Council will continue to play its part in the overall development of the region and its people. However, I call on the taxpayers to come out and pay their rates and taxes, for it is through the regular payment of taxes that the Council will be able to fulfill its obligation.
The Chief Executive Officer of Brikama Area Council, Mamsit Jallo, explained that the West Coast region generates 378 tons of refuse per day.
The West Coast region, being one of the biggest regions, occupies a land area of 1,762.25 square kilometers. And according to the 2013 census, the population of the region was about 700,000 people, representing about 37.2% of the national population. And comparing it to 2003 census figures, which was 28.6%, would show an increase of about 10.6% over a period of 10 years. Hence the need to increase our capacity to be able to go with this situation and be more effective and efficient in the collection and disposal of this unwanted material.
This, he said, is as a result of rapid population growth and urbanization, which he said pose a huge challenge in the region's waste management process. Mr. Jallo therefore urged people to be reasonable in waste generation while urging drivers to handle the vehicles with maximum care. Reporting for the news, I am Mariama Baldeshingu. The Gambia Ports Authority informs the general public that the ferry operating hours along Banjul-Bara route is from 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. daily and from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. at Trans-Gambia and all provincial stations. A media release from the GPA ferry service, however, says the ferries will only operate if the weather condition permits to ensure safety and reliability. Any inconvenience this may cause is regretted. Now, the United Democratic Party youths of Busumbala constituency have once again showed their readiness to contribute to the development of the country as they embarked on a weeding exercise on their Banjulinding farm. Jackie Tura tells us more.
The UDP youth wing of Busumbala converged in their multitude at their farm in Banjulinding for a weeding exercise. Headed by the National Assembly member of the constituency, Sekuba Jaju, the day-long exercise is aimed at supporting the country's drive in attaining food self-sufficiency.
So they feel it deemed that the development of this country shouldn't be only left in the hand of the government, that they also need to do their quotas. I came up with the idea. I said, why not we have a farm now for the constituency? Because for past 22 years, people used to go and farm for the president. And then our this government says, no, everybody's going to take responsibility of your own area. So I feel that we have a piece of land. Why don't we go for the land?
Sekuba Jaju added that agriculture is important for the economic development of the country.
It's a contribution to the national development. But also it brings cohesion between my constituency. If you look at this one, there are people from all the villages in my constituency. They came together, singing together, working together as a family. So which I am very much happy with that. Definitely, that's the second part of it.
Zakaria M.S. Dabo, a member of the UDP Busumbala constituency youth group and farm manager, explained some of the challenges they experience at the farm.
The problem we have faced here for the first time, because of the soil test, which is sandy, the maize they could make it up. And then the pests also were so rampant in this land here, until the time when the Nari people come in the basin to make a spray of the pesticides here in order to prevent those spots. But they couldn't make it up. But the beans, alhamdulillah, they couldn't make it up.
It's very, very important because we are learning lots. Before this farm, I did not know my youth very well. But when we embark on this farm, because we are here every day, now we all know each other. So we are definitely proud. Now we know each other, and the yield at the end of the day will be given to the constituency to do whatever they wanted to do. So it is a very good initiative, and we are proud to be part of it.
The constituency chairman, Bafana, urged the youth to support their farming initiative.
I'm advising my fellow other constituencies like my chairmen, they organize themselves like Busumbala constituency they organize themselves.
Ramus Sabali, Mariama Sonko and Kumba Drame all spoke at length about the important initiative the group is embarking on. The group is hoping for a bumper harvest at the end of the season. Reporting for GRTS News, I am Janke Toure.
More than 2,000 families in the North Bank region have recently benefited from an assortment of food items, courtesy of Direct Aid Office, the Gambia. The humanitarian gesture, as Khadija Tijala reports, is meant to support beneficiaries in preparation of the Muslim feast of Eid-ul-Adha.
On points were Sambakala, Fast Njaga Choi, and Bolet Bar. Direct Aid officials organized themselves to coordinate the distribution of the food items to identified households and families in the beneficiary villages. It's an annual donation at this time of the year, said Direct Aid Communication Officer Ansumana Kinti.
Africa Muslim Agency Direct Aid, the Gambia office, do go around to reach out to people. In the Gambia here, we all know we are in the rainy season, and most of the dwellers of these areas are farmers. That being the case, we know they have just started farming, and their crops are not yet ripe. So as a result, the feast is coming. We thought it necessary to give them a supporting hand, to make them feel that they are part of us, that they are part of the greater Islamic Ummah. That is why we reach out to 2,000 households within Lower Nyomi.
Equity-based organization, he went on, has been doing a lot in providing support to needy Gambians and complementing government's efforts in the area of education, health, providing boreholes, building mosques, amongst others. Beneficiaries we spoke to were happy and expressed appreciation for the intervention they described as timely.
I am very, very happy for this donation of sugar, milk, oil and rice. It is not easy with me, but this is a relief, especially for this upcoming Tabaski feast. I will enjoy the feast with my family.
It is a big blessing from Allah to provide to the needy and as well facilitate such kind of gestures. We are therefore encouraging all to emulate such kind of humanitarian gestures.
Direct Aid Tubakuta Center Manager Abdul Baki Tawfiq Ibrahim, who coordinated the distribution in Fast, hailed the villagers for their cooperation. He also expressed appreciation to the continuous support from their head office in Kuwait and the government of the Gambia for the enabling environment.
We want to thank from this place our donors in head office and our office management from head office up to the Gambian country director levels, and all the teams, those who are in the field, by taking all this responsibility to deliver these necessity materials, items to the needy people in their area, especially during rainy seasons.
Beneficiaries from satellite villages were busy to get different transportation means to their various destinations. This is the latest gesture from direct aid that brought joy and relief to the needy in this critical time of the year. Khadija Tujalo, reporting for GRTS News.
We take our first break now. Sports is up next. Do stay with us. Welcome back. In sports, Cassia FC have been crowned champions of Sifo Village after a 4-3 post-match penalty shootout win over Kantekunda Village in the village's Nawetan final. MS Jalo reports.
This game had all the ingredients of a Nawetan final, from a waterlogged pitch to great fanfare and a thrilling contest. Not even a torrential downpour shortly before kickoff could stop the mouth-watering final from going ahead, as volunteers desperately rid the pitch of water. The fans braved the rains to line up the Sifo football field to cheer their respective teams. Contesting the village crown was Kantekunda Football Club versus Kasiabi, who were vying for their first Nawetan title, and their fans were out in full force to support them. The game got off to a fast tempo with both teams determined to be crowned the village champions. Kantekunda looked more promising in the opening stages of the game, with their forward line a constant threat for the Kasiabi defenders. Chances were created by both teams, but the first period failed to produce goals. The second half was an even tougher contest as the two teams intensified their attacking play. It was an exciting game, with a great fanfare typical of such village Nawetans. After missed opportunities at both ends, Kantekunda took the lead midway into the second period, when Keba Drame was put through on goal, and the number 10 finished brilliantly in the 52nd minute. Kasiabi responded shortly by leveling the tie in the 57th minute. Asumana Jaju capitalized on a defensive mix-up to restore parity and send the tie into post-match penalty shootout. A nervous moment for both players and fans. Kasiabi controlled their nerves to win the dramatic shootout by 4-3, with their shot-stopper, the hero of the day, serving 2 penalties to secure his side their first Nawetan League title.
Well, it's a great victory. We have played here for 6 years in the senior league. Going to semi-final 4 times, we never reached the final. This is the first final we reach. So reaching the final for the first time and winning it, that's a pleasure.
They are actually wrong with the team, because you can see we scored, they equalized. All right, that tells us both teams prepared very well. Mentally, physically, they were all okay. And I think all those who were the spectators, they were very happy, they were very impressed due to the quality of football that they saw during the match. All right, yes.
The colorful final brought an end to the Sifo Nawetan tournament, which was described as a successful competition. Amid wild celebrations by their fans, Kasiabi were crowned 2017 champions of Sifo Village. Modestia, GRTS Sports.
South Africa's coach Stuart Baxter is putting a lot of emphasis on his side's tie against Cape Verde. He stressed the importance of returning home with 3 points. Baxter is looking to continue Bafana Bafana's momentum following their Cup of Nations qualifier win over Nigeria in June. CGTN has more.
Stuart Baxter is no stranger to playing against Cape Verde. In his first stint in charge of the South African national team, the Bafana coach claimed a 2-1 victory against a plucky outfit, and the Scotsman believes despite being unbeaten against the Blue Sharks, the Islanders will be tough to beat on their own patch this weekend.
I think our national team is not best against teams that we were almost saying, well, this will be an easier game. Yes, this will be on paper an easier game than Nigeria, but our experience of football all over the world, there are no easy games.
The 64-year-old feels that it is important for his charges to refocus and not rest on their laurels after the AFCON qualifier against Nigeria. Bafana recorded a morale-boosting 2-0 victory, a view shared by his squad.
We're going to Cape Verde to win the game. We've made up this clear. We want to go there and get good results, come back home and get good results, so that we stay in control of our group. We don't want to be relying on anyone to do us favors and stuff. We are in control. We want to stay in control until the end of this campaign.
The match on Friday evening will be played on an artificial surface, which poses a challenge to Baxter and his men and forces them to change the way they play.
I don't think it's a great surface, so that could mean that there's big possibilities for us to produce a few transitions against them. But that will depend on how well we defend, how well we pass the ball ourselves on the difficult, and what type of game that we can produce.
South Africa will jet out on a chartered flight headed for the island of Cape Verde for the potential weekend fixture. The Bafana coach is aware of the side's history against small opposition and their tendency to relax. But this time he has challenged his team to maintain focus and return home with a full house of points in the bag. Sister Plessis, CGTN.
Overnight internationals, the leaders of France, Germany and Italy, Spain have met counterparts from Niger, Chad and Libya in Paris. They have discussed new ways to stem the flow of economic migrants focusing on their countries of origin. CGTN's Guy Henderson reports.
First cabinet meeting after the summer break, and in those few short weeks, Emmanuel Macron's political realities have shifted dramatically. The French president appears undeterred by the latest dire poll ratings.
Some are forecasting the worst, but one should not listen to the pessimists. Some even hope for the worst. But if we are here, it is to carry out our work with determination.
Unpopular economic reforms are seen as part of the reason for the slump in popularity. Ministers are still pushing ahead.
What we need to explain to the French is that we don't want to have 3.5 million unemployed people. We need to go forward and reform a certain number of structures, a certain number of institutions which today are not working.
They are, though, wary of pushing their luck. After gathering 3 other European leaders and their African counterparts that lie along the migrant route a few hours later for a mini-summit, a pledge not to take in more, but to support the processing of some asylum claims in Africa.
What we decided is that what I proposed at the start of the summer, to have humanitarian treatment worthy of our requirements, and to identify in zones which have been identified as safe in Niger and Chad, under the supervision of the HCR, to identify the Algerian refugees who have a right to asylum, according to the current rules, and to be able to offer them shelter as quickly as possible, and to start the asylum process on African soil.
More than 100,000 people have made the dangerous journey across the Mediterranean this year, as Europe continues to struggle to find consensus on a lasting solution. Hopes of a new willingness in Paris to drag Eastern European sceptics along are fading. The same old gripes remain. The summit came at a delicate moment for Macron, who swept to power earlier this year, promising to fix a divided Europe, but also to protect the French worker. Many of his voters want a tough line on immigration and asylum. With his popularity already plummeting, perhaps it was always likely that Macron was going to set a cautious tone here. Guy Henderson, CGTN, Paris.
we now join the Central Forecast Office for the day's weather outlook.
Hello, good evening, and you're watching the latest weather report from the Central Forecast Office. First, we start with the summary of the day's weather. It was mostly cloudy, becoming warm in the afternoon. Through the satellite image, which shows current weather conditions in Africa, convective clouds over central and eastern part of Africa, causing lightning, thunderstorm, and rainy activities over those affected areas. Tonight, humid atmosphere with cloudy conditions are expected to prevail throughout the country. Tomorrow, the weather is expected to be humid with rain showers and thunderstorm over some places. Surface wind flow will be southwesterly, becoming northwesterly in direction, with speed ranging from 10 to 25 kilometers per hour. Minimum temperatures expected across the country will be 23 degrees Celsius over Greater Banjul and North Bank, 24 over West Coast, 25 over Lower River Region and Upper River Region, and 24 over Central River Region. Maximum temperatures will be 32 degrees Celsius, rising to 33 degrees Celsius throughout the country. For those going to sea, low tide will be 0.1 meters at 10 a.m. and at 10 p.m. High tide will be 1.3 meters at 4 a.m. and at 4 p.m. Waves will be 2 to 3 meters northwesterly swells. The sun will rise at 6:55 and will set at 19 minutes after the hour 7. That's all for the forecast. Thanks for watching and good night.
Well, that brings us to the end of the news, but before we take leave of you, a recap of today's main stories. Gambian pilgrims have joined millions of worshippers around the world for the Muslim Hajj, which starts on Wednesday. The Commission of Inquiry continued its sittings with 2 commercial bank managing directors and former MD of GNPC, the latest to appear before members. Brikama Area Council has taken delivery of 8 vehicles meant to aid council's efforts in its waste collection drive. And European leaders and their African counterparts are meeting in Paris to discuss ways of ending the migrant crisis. Well, that was all in this edition of the news. Thanks for the pleasure of your company, and do stay with GRTS.